Welcome into this week's edition of Pacific Indians Chatter. We have a busy week to catch up on. As you know, we roll into October and the season starts to get really jam-packed really fast here. But let's take it out. Let's start with the Riverbend Roundup. Well, Riverbend was very busy this week. The 8th grade football team had a game at Herman where they picked up a 56-26 win over the Bearcats. The 7th grade team did not play, as that Herman did not have enough to field a 7th grade team. On to the cross-country side. The boys' cross-country team finished 5th overall at the St. James Invitational this week. Landon Harrison was 12th place, Benjamin Gantner 23rd place, and Charlie Christian at 34th place. On to the girls' side of things for the St. James meet. Macy Crecilius, 8th place, Kylie Vaughn, 9th place, Heather Hassler, 30th place, and Naomi Leon Ruiz, 43rd place, to round out the Indians at the St. James Invitational on the middle school side of things. Switching over to middle school girls basketball, it was tournament week for the Indians. The 7th graders started their tournament their St. Clair tournament off with the Sullivan Eagles. They lost that game to the Lady Eagles, which meant on the next night they moved to the consolation side and faced off against the Owensville Dutchmen, and they dropped that contest 24-14. To the 8th grade side of things, the 8th graders came into the tournament 3-1 against playing Washington in the first round, looking to avenge their only loss of the season. And they ended up coming out on top 23-22 in that game against the Lady Blue Jays. Aubrey Davis made 2 free throws with 1 second left to give the Indians the lead. They were down 22-21. Aubrey knocked down 2 free throws with 1 second left on the clock, and the Lady Indians were able to hang on to a thrilling 23-22 win in the first round. Emma Vonderay led the way with 10 points for the Indians that night. On to the next night, they matched up with the Owensville Dutch girls. Another very tough game in the semifinals. This game actually saw double overtime. The Indians ended up coming out on top 19-15 in this game in the double overtime thriller. Emma Vonderay led the way with 8 points for the Indians to punch their ticket to the championship game the following night against the St. James Lady Tigers. Unfortunately, that night, that was when the run kind of came to the end for the Indians. They lost 42-18 to a very good St. James team. The Indians did play a close first half with them and gave them all they had. And I will say that I was very, very proud of the effort all week from my 8th grade girls as they come home with the second place plaque. I will also say that my blood pressure probably was a lot higher after this week with all the close games that we played. Now let's move on to 425 Indian Warpath Drive and catch up with some of the high school athletics. First, let's start with congratulations to our varsity girls cross-country team on their first place finish at the St. James Invitational. It's a great start to the season. The girls have been having a very, very good year, running really well and really strong showing in a lot of these events that they have been in as we kind of start to grind and wind down towards district's time for them. Let's go through the medalists for the girls. Aiden Lawler came in 3rd. Grace Dreyer 4th. Maddie Rush 5th. Dixie Mayfield 6th, Ruby Jones 8th, Cheyenne Brinson 9th, and Michaela Sano 10th. So the Indians boasted with 7 of the top 10 in this event at the St. James Invitational on the girls' side. On to the boys' side, the boys' medalists. Ben Smith took home first place in the St. James Invitational, with Dax Harrison coming in 6th and Lucas Godfrey finishing 7th for the Indians on the boys' side of things for cross-country. Cross-country team has been running very strong as of late and look to continue as we finish down the stretch. On to volleyball. Volleyball side of things. They were in the big tournament at Herman this week. And for those of you that aren't familiar with it, it's a long night when you're in this Herman tournament because there is a bunch of teams there. In the Indians pool play, they defeated New Haven in 2 sets, 2-0. They won the first set 25-7. And 25-14. Then they played the St. Louis Panthers. They split a pair of sets with the Panthers, bringing their record to 3-1 on the tournament in the pool play. But then they capped the night off against Herman with 2 big wins against Herman to finish 5-1 in their pool play, advancing to the championship semis. And then they returned on Thursday night for a big 3-set win over the Blue Jays. Very close, 25-23, 26-24, and 25-23. Extremely close, extremely tight, very nerve-wracking game. Indians came out on top and punched their ticket to the championship on Thursday night as well. That is where they met the Borgia Knights. The Indians lost in 3 straight, 28-26, 30-28, and 27-25. So all 3 sets went extras over the 25 to crown a winner. So Borgia took home the championship. The Lady Indians come home with 2nd place at the Herman tournament. Like I said, I'm pretty sure that was a long night. I think I heard the bus didn't roll in until pretty late. But that's how it is sometimes with the volleyball tournaments. They kind of go really long. Let's jump over to football. The Indians traveled to Owensville on Friday night, where they picked up their first win of the season with a 42-3 win over the Dutchmen. For the Indians, the leaders on the night, Brock McKinney, 13 carries for 142 yards. Seth Stack had 10 carries for 40 yards. Passing-wise, Seth Stack was 8 for 11 for 245 yards with 3 touchdowns. The big night came from 4 receptions, 141 yards for Gavin Haddocks, and Gabe Wiersma with 3 catches for 90 yards. Jacob Alvarez also chipped in on the defensive side with 1 interception. And the Indians picked up their first win. That win actually puts the Indians currently sitting into 5th place for the district. So right now, as it stands, they would match up with the number 4 seeded Union Wildcats. Obviously, there is a lot more football left to be played, and those standings will certainly change each week as teams add more wins and more points to their thing. And we've talked about how it works. Maybe we will break it down next week a little deeper into how you pick up points. You pick up points based off the class of team you play, the total points you win by up to a certain amount, so that way there's no teams just going for absolute blowouts in games, which we do not want to see in high school, really. And other things that factor into the point situation. Like I said, Misha will be looking to expand this into probably basketball next, would be my guess. On to soccer. The Indians started the week 9-0, and they try to pick up their 10th win to go 10-0 for first time in program history. Washington Blue Jays came to town on Monday night. This game, the Indians take 1-0 in penalty kicks. Again, double overtime, penalty kicks. Indians come out on top in a huge win against a close team, a rival team, I would say, in the Washington Blue Jays, to run their record to 10-0. However, the next night, St. Charles West came to town in the same situation. The Indians dropped this game for their first loss of the year, 2-1. They went to penalty kicks and came out on the short end of the penalty kicks this time for their first loss of the season. And, I mean, we kind of talked about it before. A loss isn't the worst thing in the world. It takes a little bit of pressure off you because after a while you start to rack up these wins. And every game feels like a big pressure game because you want to keep the streak alive. Ultimately, sometimes the loss is good to help just sort of loosen the players a little bit. And it seemed like it worked because the Thursday night they had Union at Pacific in a big conference battle. And the Indians came out with a 2-1 victory over the Union Wildcats to put them at 11-1. As far as the conference goes, they just have to play Union and Sullivan one more time. There's only 3 teams in the Four Rivers Conference now anymore in boys soccer. I don't even know if they technically give out a conference championship because of the lower number of teams. But the Indians sit 2-0 in the conference as we move forward with the rest of their season. And again, this is another team that when districts comes around, could be really interesting to see where the Indians sit seed-wise. They will be in with some bigger schools, draw the right thing, win a couple big ones, and all of a sudden the Indians could be sitting in a district championship game. They have a very capable team with 10 seniors and very good goaltending. So that is always the recipe for success on the soccer side. Now let's move over to softball. Let's start with the JV girls. They had 3 games this week on the softball side of things. Monday night they traveled to Borgia, where the Lady Indians JV picked up a 6-2 win over the Borgia Knights. For the Indians, Mila Miller was 1 for 2, and Cheyenne Kelm was 1 for 2 for the Indians as well. Kayla Swinford pitched 4 innings, only gave up 3 hits, 2 runs, none earned, and 3 strikeouts for the Indians. Moving on to Tuesday, they had Union at home in a big JV conference game. Elizabeth Havas had 2 hits for the Lady Indians in that one. Gwen Chastain with 1. Mila Miller was 3 for 3. Emma Daniel had a hit, and Kendall Armistead was 3 for 3 as well. Claire Welker also with a hit and an RBI as the Indians picked up a 13-4 win. Kayla Swinford took the ball that night as well with 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 4 runs, 2 earned, 2 walks, and 3 strikeouts. We have mentioned it before, Kayla was brand new to pitching this year, and it seems like she's getting some more and more reps and getting a little more confident on the mound, and the stuff is improving each and every time she goes out there, which is good for the future of the Indians. On to Thursday night, as the JV looked to finish 3-0 for the week, they unfortunately dropped a tough one 10-5 to the Windsor Owls. Scarlett White had a hit for the Indians that night, and Mila Miller had a hit. And on the mound for the Indians, Kayla Swinford took the hill through 2 innings, 1 hit, 3 runs, no earned, 1 walk. Now let's move over to the varsity side of things on the softball diamond. They had the same schedule. They traveled to Borgia, where the Indians came up a little short to the Borgia Knights, who are a pretty solid ball club, losing 11-1. For the Indians offensively, Ayla Shapinski, McKenna Lay, and Ashlyn Young all chipped in with a hit. Ayla pitched the game for the Indians, going 5 1/3, 13 hits, 11 runs, 11 earned, 5 walks, and 1 strikeout. On to Tuesday night, they had the big conference game with Union coming to town. The Indians dropped it 6-5. They had a big inning in the 7th to rally and bring it close. It was 6-2 starting the inning, and it ended with a 6-5 final. And I believe the Indians had the tying run in scoring position with 2 outs in the 7th. But again, good effort, good fight. They got right back in the game late and had a chance to win. That's all you can ask for a lot of times. For the Indians, Kayla Swinford 2 for 3. Ayla Shapinski 2 for 4, 2 RBIs. Ellie Groom 1 for 3 with 2 RBIs. McKenna Lay, Ashlyn Young, Mila Miller, Avery Thomas, and Carissa Reese all chipped in with hits as well for the Indians. On the mound for the Indians, Mila Miller went 7 innings, giving up 8 hits, 6 runs, 5 earned, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts. Thursday night, the Indians faced off against Windsor, and they dropped that game 10-0. But actually, if you look at the box score, after the second inning, it was 0-0 softball all the way through the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The Indians got a little sharper as the game went on. Ashlyn Young with 2 hits for the Indians, and Peyton McFarland also chipped in with a hit. Ayla Shapinski started on the mound for the Indians, and Mila Miller came in relief. The Indians' districts will be the week of homecoming. I believe it's the Wednesday or Thursday before the homecoming game on Friday. We can talk about their season. We'll wind down real quick here. They've had this week and next week, and it's over for softball. It's one of the quicker seasons, but they play the most games of almost anybody, maybe outside of baseball. So they get a bunch of reps in real quick, and it's over fast. So if you're looking to come out and watch the game, come check out the Indians. They have several home games this week. And now it's time for Performance of the Week. My performance of the week this week is really going to be a tough one. I'm looking through at all the different stat lines that I have available to myself. Volleyball most certainly is deserving with their second place finish at the Herman tournament. I gave love to the 8th grade girls last week with their big wins, but they also did come in second this week in their tournament. They would make a strong case. The soccer boys, kind of running that record to 10-0 before dropping their first game makes a really strong case. But I think this week I will go with the girls cross-country team for their first place finish at the St. James Invitational. Again, 7 of the top 10 performers belong to the Pacific Indians. That is very impressive to me. Great job, ladies. Keep it up as we run down the end of the season towards district and state. And now let's kind of go over this week. That is Pacific Sports. It's a busy week for the Pacific Sports team. Girls golf will kick everything off tomorrow morning at Franklin County JV Varsity Tournament. Then the Lady Indian softball team will be at home hosting Lynn. The 7th and 8th grade girls basketball team will be home hosting Sullivan. Football will play a JV game at home against Owensville. Boys soccer takes it on the road to North County. On Tuesday night, girls golf will be at Sullivan for the Sullivan Scramble. Our esports team will compete against West County High School. Soccer will be on the road again at Sullivan. Volleyball's home against Sullivan, varsity, JV, and freshman. 7th and 8th grade girls basketball will make the trip to New Haven, and that is Tuesday night. Wednesday night, softball will be home against Oakville. I believe that is their last home game of the year. So if you're looking to get out and watch the Indians, there you go. There's your last chance to get out and see them Wednesday, hosting Oakville. On to Thursday night. Thursday night, cross country makes a trip to Orchard Farms for junior high and JV varsity event. Esports is also in action against St. Charles High School. Boys soccer is home to hosting the Borgia Knights. Softball makes the trip to Valley Park on Thursday, and volleyball makes a trip up to New Haven on Thursday for freshman JV varsity. The 7th grade football team makes the long trip to Union, and the 7th and 8th grade girls basketball team will be at home against the Owensville Dutchmen. Moving to Friday night. Friday night is just the football game at Potosi. Football game will be at Potosi on Friday night, and the Indians will return home the following week for homecoming. Just remember, we have this week, and then next week is homecoming week with our new Pacific High School Hall of Fame class, and a busy week at Pacific High School. Spirit Week, home games, big games, all around. District softball is also during that week of homecoming. Going to be a packed week. These next 2 weeks will be real busy. Like we said, October, you start to see a lot of games really quick. There's not a lot of practice time left for any of these programs. As we always are, we're looking to catch up with maybe soccer or football this week, kind of get their thoughts on their season thus far, kind of add in some more interviews as we continue on this path to reintroduce this show to the masses and bring it back to what it was the first couple seasons that we had. But until next week, keep up the chatter.